While I wait for new DLC, that I find sufficiently interesting, to be released, I thought I'd go over some random talking points related to Train Sim World. Said talking points would not fit in a normal review. As for the upcoming DLC for which I am waiting, this includes, but is not limited to, the s-bahn, Lisboa to Setúbal, Carlisle to Whitehaven, and the North London Line's Richmond extension. Some of you may recall Athena Simulations and the disastrous ECML Diesel Rail Tour gameplay pack, which was released in April 2025. As a refresher, what you get for $20.49 NZD, or whatever that equals in your local currency, is barely anything new. Just a new livery/variant of the Class 47, plus dual-braked BR blue and grey variants of the 4 Mark I coach variants that we already had. You also got the Class 40 Whistler and Class 45 Peak, which were recycled from older add-ons with no significant updates, and a batch of 10 scenarios for East Coast Main Line Peterborough to Doncaster, which is not a particularly exciting route if you ask me. Aside from presenting poor value for money, another reason why I have such a low opinion of this gameplay pack is its focus on 47484 Isambard Kingdom Brunel running on a modern image ECML route, despite the fact that the real 47484 hasn't run under his own power since 1995. If Athena had to stick to only modelling a new variant for the Class 47, they should have done 47580 County of Essex, which is a damn sight more suitable for the time period on Peterborough to Doncaster. An add-on themed around rail tours on the ECML would have turned out much better had the devs modelled a Class 55 Deltic, something for which lots of TSW players have been crying out for goodness knows how long at this point. I brought up ECML Diesel Rail Tour because, just the other day, I realised that Athena seems to have gone as quiet as the church mouse. I don't recall hearing anything from them since the Rail Tour pack's release, regardless of whether it's about any future projects or improvements to the existing pack. Anyone would think that they just wanted to make like Steve Miller and to take the money and run. What's going on with Athena Simulations? My next topic is the Class 350 Desiro, an electric multiple unit that has been in TSW since the London Euston to Milton Keynes route of September 2024, but amongst other things, the add-on is let down by its inclusion of only one 350 variant, namely the 350-1, not to mention the unit's, in my opinion, poor sounds, particularly when she's rushing past at speed. The 350-1's overpowered braking physics and lack of realistic LNWR branding don't help her situation, and while there was a branding patch available as part of a WCML enhancement pack, I haven't been able to use said patch in TSW6 because, when it was installed, the game crashed whenever I tried loading a service on WCML South. That patch for the Class 350, whose proper name is now on screen, was the only .pak file in the enhancement pack that would cause the game to crash. The others all worked perfectly fine. In the time since WCML South's release, the 350-2 and 350-3 were added to TSW as part of All Aboard Studios' Birmingham to Crewe route, and we'll also be getting the 350-4 with AABS's upcoming Milton Keynes to Crewe route. Your mileage may vary, but in my case, I have a stronger connection to the southern section of the WCML as I've gone train spotting at South Kenton, Cheddington and Apsley in real life. Aside from the Preston to Carlisle section, I'm generally not interested in the rest of the West Coast Main Line beyond Milton Keynes. I don't like seeing different variants of the Class 350 split up across multiple routes. To say TSW's business model is controversial would be putting it mildly, and with the way said model works, you'll have to get 3 separate route add-ons just to get all 4 variants of the Class 350. That wouldn't be necessary had Dovetail bothered to acknowledge the existence of the other 3 subclasses when they made the London to Milton Keynes DLC. Come to think of it, a similar situation will happen with the Class 805 and Class 807 Evero trains from Avanti West Coast. The former is being made as a standalone add-on for WCML South and Birmingham to Crewe, and initially, I was annoyed to see that the Class 807 will not be included with the 805 pack, but I'm not feeling much better upon finding out that the 807 will be coming to TSW, but only as part of the Milton Keynes to Crewe thingy, also known as WCML Trent Valley. At present, I do not intend to pick up WCML Birmingham to Crewe unless I can get it at a steep discount. Based on what I've learned about the route's disastrous launch from watching videos by Train Sim Society, I don't think it's worth its full price of 57 New Zealand dollars. If I was going to spend that much money on DLC, I would rather pick up something from Just Trains or Train Sim Germany. As for Milton Keynes to Crewe, I don't intend to pick it up once it's released, not just because I'm bored of all the WCML stuff in TSW, but also because I don't want to buy big routes in which I have little interest just to get an extra variant of a train that I like in real life, not to mention another train that's very similar to the Class 805. I do not think that would be a sensible use of my money. Come to think of it, I would much rather see the developers, be they Dovetail or someone else, model at least one more East Coast mainline section in TSW instead of fawning over the WCML. Considering how often we're seeing trains that are just modified variants of what we already have in TSW, instead of being entirely new to the game, I wouldn't put it past Dovetail or a third party if they end up making a route in the southwest of England and only include one train, with said train just being a modification of the existing Class 350 model to get a depiction of the Class 450. I can imagine something similar happening for the Class 360 if we ever get a GEML or Midland Mainline South route in TSW. I've noticed that the vast majority of upcoming TSW add-ons are being developed by third parties, as opposed to Dovetail themselves. I'm neither happy with nor frustrated by this pattern, more intrigued than anything else. Aside from the bizarre Metro Rivals thingy, I can't think of anything else that would possibly take Doesn't Test Games' attention away from the cash cow known as Train Sim World. Incidentally, I have absolutely no interest in that Metro Rivals malarkey. The one-time Dovetail acknowledged the existence of the New York City subway, and it's for an entirely separate game instead of a TSW add-on. Go figure. On the topic of trains in New York City, I find it annoying how the Long Island Railroad layers at Penn Station, on New York to Trenton, still require the original, and quite frankly shit, LIRR add-on of 2018. I think the layer should be updated to use the M7 and M9 trains from the extended, and semi-improved version, released in 2024, thus finally making the original 2018 add-on fully obsolete. Speaking of New York to Trenton, I remember this route initially releasing in a terrible state, and then a major timetable update was rushed out to release without proper testing. You can see the horrible stuttering and lag on full display in my updated review of the route, published in October 2023. In more recent journeys on this route, I've noticed that the performance seems to be much smoother now, which is very nice.
Nice.
But it doesn't change or excuse the fact that the route first launched in an embarrassingly rough state. All the more reason to refer to Dovetail as doesn't test games. Come to think of it, now that you can get the Arrow 3 in the game, as part of the Morristown Line add-on, I see even less of a reason for the developers to not add the Princeton branch. Does anyone remember the S-bahn Vorarlberg route? As a refresher, it was released in September 2023 as one of the core routes in Train Sim World 4, and is notable for being the first cross-border route in TSW. Most of the line is in Austria, but there's a little bit in Germany at the northern end, although the border crossing is a bit underwhelming. The route coverage runs for 70 kilometers, or 44 miles, from Lindau, Germany to Bludenz, Austria, and you also get a short branch to Lustenau, Austria, which is just before the border with Switzerland. I remember really disliking this route when it was first released, mainly because of the, in my opinion, poor scenery, which looked especially ugly in autumn, completely wrong sounds on the Talent 1 electric multiple unit, and the complete lack of motive power variety on the Österreichische Bundesbahn inside. The Semmeringbahn DLC only barely helped in that regard. The recycled Talent 2 sounds are still there on the Talent 1 to this day, but even then, I still find myself revisiting this route from time to time, though I can't pinpoint an exact reason why. In any case, I wish that we could get more Austrian trains in the game, not just for use on S-bahn Vorarlberg, but the Semmeringbahn as well. If you've got any thoughts on S-bahn Vorarlberg, and the other topics I've discussed today, feel free to leave said thoughts in the comments. Thinking back to what I was saying earlier about future DLC for which I am waiting, another one is the Tadami Line from Union Workshop, although we've been waiting for the better part of 2 years for the blasted route in TSW and it still isn't out yet. It had better be worth the wait. Incidentally, the Tadami Line already exists in TS Classic, and has been in the game since July 2020. Now that I think about it, the TSW version has been on the roadmap for so long that I wonder how many people are still looking forward to it. Part of me is still excited, but at the same time, I feel like I'm close to losing patience. In any case, I recommend watching Maffarick's pronunciation guide if you're unfamiliar with the station names on this route. I will finish this video with a random route suggestion. For many years, I've been fascinated by the DC-powered electric multiple units that used to run in Manchester, namely the Class 504, Class 505, and Class 506, and the one that I'd like to see in TSW is the Class 504, complete with a route going from Manchester Victoria to Bury. That would be 9 3/4 miles long with 10 stations. As you can see, we already have Manchester Victoria Station in the game, as part of the Northern Transpennine add-on of December 2018, and you can see the unusual side contact third rail system at the appropriate platforms. If we ever get the Manchester Victoria to Bury line made as a TSW add-on, I would prefer to see it set in 1990 or 1991, during the Class 504's final years of service, instead of it conveniently being set in 1983, same as the existing Northern Transpennine route.